Today is day 3 of my 10-day challenge. I was given a challenge to do a video a day for 10 days, and I accepted that. Today's message for my 10-day challenge is don't be afraid to start something. And I kind of hope that you can hear Will Smith from Men in Black going, don't start something, you can't finish something. Because I hope that you will have that sort of energy. Don't be afraid to start something. It's your life. Start something. Start something in it. So I told you that I would show you the end piece of the practice that I did. It's a little messy because there's lots of different weaves there, but I did it. I started something and I finished something, and there are mistakes. There's one sticking out right there. But that's okay. We learn from our mistakes. So if we never start, then we never learn. And if we never start, then we never get a chance to progress. And this applies to so many things. This applies to a craft, artwork, finances, a new job, a new life, maybe in a new town. It can apply to so very many things. And so I want to share some of my own experience with this, and hopefully it will help. When I ran a group of young women at a workplace, I would always tell them once they became eligible, and I had to sit down and give them the paperwork for their 401k, I would always tell them to join it. They would say, what should I do? And I would say, join this. And they would say, well, I don't have any money. And I would say, well, the business will pay you. They will match your funds. That means pay you for the first 2% of your paycheck. And we would figure out what 2% of a paycheck was, which was never very much. These were young folks just starting out in a call center. And then I would go over the math with them on how much that would cost a month. And inevitably, they would tell me that they didn't have the money. And I would go over with them about how to find the money. And we would talk about things like the Starbucks coffee that they were drinking every morning, which would cost $6 or $7. And I would suggest, well, just take one of those a week. Just don't drink one of those once a week. And let's start there. And I would do the math, and inevitably they would make the decision not to do it. And I understand, because money is hard to come by when you're young. And money's hard to come by anytime. Who am I kidding? But it's hard to come by when you're young. And they couldn't see the benefit. But in not being able to see the benefit, they weren't reaping it. And if they'd have only put in that $7 once a month, and some of these girls worked for several years at this place, then it would have added up. 7 times 10 is 70. So, you know, if you're 20 and you put $70 away, then and the company is matching you, that's $70. That's 140. And slowly it would build, and they would have a little nest egg for when they retired. Because these were largely folks that had never ever been taught how to do finances at all. They didn't understand saving. They didn't understand how money works. They didn't understand anything. And so, as far as that is concerned. And so I would talk to them about this and say, you know, don't be afraid to start this. And I wish that I had started earlier. I wish that I had been in a position to have put more away at an earlier age. But situations being what they were, you know, we do the best we can with what we've got. Well, it's the same with the business that I work with. You can see me sitting here working on a headdress for the skull behind me. It's going to be very sweet, and kind of summery, and you know, there was a time where I couldn't just set these out and just do them. I simply didn't know how. But pardon me. But you learn. You work with them. You figure it out. By doing, you learn. And eventually you get pretty good at it. And but if you don't start, then you don't learn. And if you don't start, then you never get good at it. Right? It seems so basic. And yet, so many people never start. So many people never take that first step. And I'm one of those folks that always says, well, shoot for the stars. The chances of you making the stars are pretty small. You know, let's face it. But maybe I'll make the moon. And, you know, the moon is a hell of a lot better than just staying here on Earth, right? Than not making anything. If I don't try at all, then I know what I get. I got nothing, right? The Aerosmith song. If you always do what you've always done, you always have what you always got. You know, could that be nothing? And I mean, that's a bit of attitude, but it's also truth. I mean, if you don't put yourself out there, you're never gonna know what you could manage. You're never gonna know what you're capable of if you don't try. And so, my message for today is don't be afraid to start something. In fact, I would say be afraid not to start something. Because if you never start, then you're never going to go anywhere. You're just going to stay in place. And who wants to just stay in place? So, I didn't get the whole thing wrapped, but what the heck? What I'm going to say is, don't be afraid to start something.